Us. And joining us now is Mike Davis, former clerk for Justice Gorsuch and president and founder of the Article 3 Project, and Saul Weisenberg, former deputy independent counsel and a Fox News contributor. You know, Mike, there was one moment during today's hearing that stood out. Take a look.
I recall being with Hunter Biden and Devin Archer at the Peninsula Bar in New York, where Hunter took a call from his father and told him things were going well with Henry's Allen Harvest and that he might need a little help getting across the finish line.
Mike, what do you glean from that?
Well, I think what this testimony today shows is there is clear evidence that Joe Biden lied to the American people and Hunter Biden lied under oath when they both said that Joe Biden was not involved in any of Hunter's business dealings. That is, there is clear evidence to the contrary with Tony Bobulinski and this Jason Galanis. It's very clear that Joe Biden was very aware of these foreign business dealings. All right,
let's take a listen. Let's take a listen to what happened a few years ago when Joe Biden was asked about this.
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. There is zero evidence of any assertion being made.
All right, Saul, I'll go to you on this. You know, the 000 evidence and the evolving story, and now we've got the bank records and the shell companies. What do you make of this?
Well, there's nothing to make of it other than that the president has repeatedly lied about this, and we've known it for quite a while. And apparently that doesn't bother him. He shamelessly does it across a variety of topics. What I thought was interesting today was that Bobulinski, I thought, was a very powerful witness. He's obviously been waiting to testify for a long time. His testimony was raw and angry, and I thought it made it more powerful. And unlike some of the other people testifying, he doesn't have anything he can really be impeached with in terms of his background. He's a real patriot. So I thought they were very worried about it, and you saw that in their efforts, in their answers, the Democrats, in their questions to shift the topic. And particularly pathetic was AOC, who doesn't even know that RICO is not a category. RICO is a criminal statute, yes. 18 U.S.C. 1962. You can look it up.
Thank you, Saul. Thank you. You know, Mike, it really is amazing because Bobulinski came out and said Hunter lied. Take a listen.
Here's just one egregious example of Hunter's perjury. He lied to the committee on important details concerning his money demands and threats to CFC in text messages on July 30th and 31st, 2017. He leveraged his father's presence next to him in that infamous text to strong-arm CFC to paying Hunter immediately.
All right, Mike, if Hunter Biden lied in his testimony, what does that mean for him?
Well, it means he should face perjury charges, but we have the Biden Justice Department that's gone out of its way for years to go after Trump, his top aides, his lawyers, his January 6 supporters, parents, and Christians, while they've given amnesty to Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, James Biden, the corrupt Biden family, and their political allies. We have a politicized and weaponized justice system, and that's not going to change until President Trump is back in office on January 20th, 2025.
And you know, Saul, it's amazing that one individual who testified earlier, who was a partner, Jason Galanis, of Hunter Biden, I mean, he had nothing to gain. We all know that witnesses, you look at who's got something to gain, who's got something to lose. This guy's in jail. It's not like the Biden Department of Justice is going to do him any favors. He came right out and said he was a partner, and Joe Biden knew about it.
Right. Of course, in any criminal trial, however, he would be impeachable precisely because he is in prison, and they don't have that with Bobulinski. And I think that's an important point. And I think that I looked at the transcript of Hunter Biden's testimony, and I think he was very, very careful. He might have been literally truthful in some of his answers because he had a good attorney there with him. And that's precisely why he didn't want to appear today. He didn't want to appear in a face-off that he couldn't control. He always wants to be in a tightly controlled environment. But I certainly agree with what Mike says. There's no way this Justice Department would ever bring charges against him.
And that's the sad part.
this.
Mike and Saul, thanks so much for being with us tonight.